and welcome to another episode of the Elevated Beauty Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Fouts, owner of Elevated Beauty Aesthetics, located in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about green flags and red flags as a business owner. From someone who's been in this industry for a little while, that kind of knows how things are perceived. So from a client's perspective a bit, I'm going to go through some things that you might want to implement or you might want to change. Just overall red flags and green flags that your client may see as an esthetician. So I don't know what it is about me, but I always like to kind of, internally at least, I don't want to say judge people, analyze. I analyze people a lot. I like to look at other people that are in the same industry as me and analyze their business model, analyze how they present themselves, and analyze the way that they operate. And I do this because it's just in my nature, but also to make sure that I am offering all that I need to be and all that I want to offer, everything that I think would be beneficial to my clients. So I'm going to go through first some things that I see that are great, that really send off professional impressions, that they have really thought about this, that they know what their guest needs, and different things like that. So just like positive things that I see, green flags. So the first thing is that I see a unison in their whole design, I guess you would say, the whole appearance of their business model. Even if you're not a business owner, you're going to have some type of public presence. If it's a Facebook page, if it's an Instagram, if it's a blog, you're going to have some type of public presence. And if you don't have that, what are you doing? In this day and age, you definitely need to have a public presence established. So when I see a unison there, when I see a complete, what's the word I'm looking for? Obviously I've said unified already. I just see a clear vision going on. I see that they have something there going on that they are being consistent with as far as like colors. They're using the same fonts. They're using the same templates. They just have this obvious vibe about themselves established already. That's a green flag. That lets me know that they have a clear self-image or they have a clear vision. And that's really important because, like I said, people follow you for you a lot of the times. And so sometimes people will follow you because they like your vibe, simply, as simple as that. So I like to see kind of a unified public presence to their persona or to their business. And then they need to have their contacts easily accessible, a phone number listed that you can call or text. Ideally, if you are a business owner, you have to have a website where clients can book through, where people can see your menu. So you need to have clear contact available. People need to see what you offer. You need to have like a menu tab or have your menu listed on your website. Have your location easily accessible where people can see where you're located. Obviously, that's really important because that can rule a lot of people out. Like some people don't want to drive 30 minutes to see a provider. You need to have your location easily accessible and easy to view. Actual documentation of your work not just like Google Images. You need to have an actual documentation of your work. If someone, and I'm going to go on, that's going to be a part of the red flags later. So that's a green flag when I see people are actually displaying their own work. That's really important. So I think when I go through the red flags, that can kind of coincide with some of the green flags too. So I'm going to move into a little bit of the red flags and just continue the conversation there. So obviously, some red flags are when I see an ad like someone's putting on a public forum like Facebook or whatever. They're like just posting from their personal profile, like hit me up for nails, whatever. That's a red flag because that sends the message that like you're not a professional. Are you even a licensed professional? Are you offering these services illegally? Or are you just not at a professional level where you have a public like place for your work to exist? Like, why don't you have a professional profile? Even if you're not a solo business owner, at least like if I didn't have Elevated Beauty, I would still have like Beauty by Emily or something like that on Facebook, where I had my actual results posted, and I would have, all my if I worked at a spa that I was an employee at, I would still have all that information there. And a lot of places these days ask of that from their employees because they want to expand their reach. And a lot of times whenever people are coming to see you and you're working for somewhere else, they come back to see you specifically. And so it's easier for them to follow you on your main page if you are active on there because you are their provider. So it's a red flag if someone's posting things from their personal profile and they don't have a professional public place for their clients to go and see their work information, things like that. So another red flag is whenever people do have, a professional public profile, an Instagram page or Facebook page, but they don't have a website, because that also sends the message that you're not doing things like the most professional way. Every business should have a website. If you don't, that tells me that you're like trying to cut corners and not provide the best experience to your guest. So when someone has like DM to book, immediate red flags. I would never book with anyone that said DM to book, because that makes me worry, one, that they're cutting corners. Two, are they actually even licensed? Is that the reason that they haven't established their self? So we definitely don't do any DM to book. We don't do any cash only. Again, that sends a message that you're not doing things the right way. You're not an ethical provider. You're not documenting your transactions. So cash only, that will send up red flags immediately. I will not go to this person. Maybe that's just me, but I don't like to support unethical people, unethical providers, because there are people in this industry that are doing everything the right way and that really care to the level that they should. And that tells me that you don't care as much as you should. So those are two of the biggest red flags for me. So another one for me is whenever your provider talks negatively about other people or other providers' methods and ways of doing things. Yes, there are several situations where people have asked me about other people's methods or told me about how their other esthetician did this, and I explained to them why that is potentially, not beneficial if that's the case, and why that was not beneficial for their skin, how they will benefit from something else. But I word it in a way where I'm not like bashing other people's ways of doing things. So if your provider just speaks negatively about others to boost their self up and promote their self, brands too, by the way, if that's how you are if you're using that as a tactic to market yourself and put yourself and your tactics on a pedestal, that screams like you have not really high morals and that you don't really believe in yourself or understand why what you're doing is better quote unquote better, why it's more beneficial. Because if you understood like the science behind it and the inner workings and why it was more beneficial, you would use that instead of saying why the other way is so wrong. And it just speaks to character. I want to support people that have good character and good morals and values and that are educated. So I would prefer to go to someone that isn't a negative Nancy and talking crap about other people and the way that other people do other things. For an example, I have a client that decided on her own that she was going to exclusively come to see me for my services. She had previously been going to another establishment here in town, and she just decided on her own that she wanted to come see me exclusively for whatever reason. She, believes in my education, likes my vibe, likes what I offer. But she was asking me, previously she had been receiving microdermabrasion. And I told her that I don't offer microdermabrasion. She was interested in my oxygen revision therapy. And so I was just telling her what the oxygen revision therapy is and how it is different from microdermabrasion without bashing microdermabrasion. Do I like microdermabrasion? No, I don't. I used to offer it. It does have its benefits. It has its pros and it has its cons, just like many other things. But I simply explained to her why I don't offer it, because it is a personal preference, and I see better results in the methods that I use. So I could have said, I could have went another route and been like, microdermabrasion sucks. Like, if someone's offering that and they're not like up to speed with this isn't necessarily true. I'm just like saying what someone that negatively speaks would say. I could have said like, that's an old tactic. There's newer ways of resurfacing the skin. I could have said something to that effect, but that's not my character. I'm not going to bash another method because that's not me. It's not true. There are just things that I prefer to implement and for these specific reasons. Unless, of course, there are some, exceptions. If something is backed by facts, like BB Glow, injecting, like microneedling with pigment, that can lead to granulomas, irritation. You're penetrating things in the skin that are not natural to our body, and so it's a really high chance of having a reaction. And then also that pigment oxidizes and will change color over time. So that is something that I will speak negatively on, but I'm not going to say oh, if so-and-so offers this, they're, whatever. I'm just going to give people the science and let them make their own informed decision on that. So, there are things that I will give the negative facts of it, so to say. But yeah, that's definitely a huge red flag for me. I don't like to have any negativity in my life. It does not promote anything good. So I just like to steer clear of that. And if someone, is shaming their clients, making fun of things that their clients do online also, that sends up red flags for me, that they're just not someone with the type of character that I like to associate with. And, a lot of people do emulate others. That doesn't necessarily just speak to who you are as a person as a whole. There have been moments in my life and my journey where I have stepped out of character or, said something and then after that reflected on it and been like, that's not the type of person that I want to be, and I'm going to learn and grow from that. So if you are someone who is maybe doing those things subconsciously, or, you can kind of reflect on that and just learn from it. Another huge red flag is whenever I'm going to say this in quotations, whenever a professional uses over-the-counter products in their treatment room. Sorry, not sorry. People are coming to see you because you offer a professional service. They're not coming to see you so that you can use something on their skin that they can get from Walmart. And trust me, it happens. If you're doing that, you need to stop doing it, please. If your client ever sees that, they're not going to like it. And I know when you're starting out, money's tight, but you need to invest in yourself. and your products are the first thing that you should be investing in. And unfortunately, this has happened twice for 2 different places that I worked at. This is sanitary practices. At the time, I didn't really realize that this was, not good, because these were positions where I was like still in my learning journey. But now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my God, like cringing that they did these things. So a red flag is when a provider uses sponges. I'm not saying sponges are bad. Sponges feel great on the skin, but if you're using sponges, you need to be using one-time only sponges, disposable sponges. I personally don't use sponges because for me, that is a little bit of a waste of money for me. That's not something that I want to pour money into. I would rather just use towels that I can wash and reuse. So I don't like to invest in the sponges that are one-time use. So yeah, I used to work at a place that would have sponges and then we would wash them. Sponges are porous. No matter how many times you wash them, they are harboring bacteria. It's unsanitary. It's not per state board. So if you have an esthetician that you go to and that uses sponges, maybe just confirm with them, ask them if these are one use only or if they wash them. If you like really want to be sure. But yeah, anytime I see someone using sponges, I'm like, I hope they're only using those once. So that, and then mostly like when you work at a franchise spa, you'll run into these things. And then like double layering your bedding. I worked somewhere that double layered their sheets so they could cut down on their turnover time. No, I mean, the company was doing that so that they can work their employees to the bone and not give them a proper break in between. That way they can fit more clients in throughout the day, and that just leads to burnout and a really high turnover rate with your employees. Speaking from experience, and most everyone in the industry, when you work at a franchise spa, you get overworked and you get burnout pretty quickly because you're not valued and you're not given the grace that you need. So they would double layer the sheets during massage particularly. That way whenever the client's done, they just take the sheet off and there's one underneath it that is quote unquote fresh. It's not. We have natural oils on our body. We sweat. I guarantee you it is transferring through that sheet into the one that is underneath it. There's no barrier in between. I mean, it's just not, it's not what you want to do. And it also not per state board. That's nasty. Please don't double layer your bedding. Give yourself enough time to properly prepare in between each guest, please. Well, off the top of my head, I would say that that's all I can think of right now as far as green flags and red flags in a provider. So, hopefully you enjoyed this episode and have some things to consider or learned a new perspective. If you want to add to the conversation, you can always comment on my post on Elevated Beauty Podcast. And as always, I will see you guys next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for another episode.